the fact that he was a self-claimed prophet, he was a good writer. There's plenty of good writers. That doesn't make them prophets.
Goodness gracious, man. No way.
What
Well, I
is your
accept this
definition of a
kind
prophet?
of floating out of heaven book that you do.
No one's saying it's floating out of heaven.
Well, then what are you saying?
Revealed through angels. Do you believe
Moses
angels?
wrote. No, an angel didn't write the Torah.
No one said
Moses
an angel
wrote it.
No
Wrote it,
one
not
said
an angel.
wrote it.
And no angel wrote the New Testament either. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Peter, James wrote the New Testament.
Then we'll stop right there. Forget everything about Muhammad. Do Christians believe that Jesus was born without a father?
Yeah, but not because some dude 500 years after the fact wrote it. That's for sure.
But then what do they take as their belief for Jesus being born without a
Because
father?
eyewitnesses who knew Jesus' mother, a woman named Mary, talked with her. They talked with Joseph, and they found out that indeed Mary was a virgin when Jesus was born.
So then we take
It's not something they made up 500 years later.
Okay, so then
It's something that they found from eyewitness talking.
So do we take that? We take Jesus being born without a father as a miracle. That's proof
Yes.
he's a prophet. That's proof he's a prophet, correct?
No.
Why?
Just because a miracle happens doesn't mean the dude's a prophet.
Why?
He could be a false prophet.
So then why
Miracles happen to
why
false
doesn't your mom
prophets.
have a son without a father? What miracles happen to false prophets? We'll go over that right now. What miracles happen to false prophets?
Man, if you get in the occult, you can go to seances, and demonic powers are shown, supernatural powers are shown. You can go a lot of places on this planet.
But
How
we're
are they
not talking
shown?
about magic.
How
We're
are
not
they
talking about
shown?
magic.
How are they shown?
Yeah, how are they shown? Like,
All right, I'll tell you how.
Factually.
You
How
bet.
can you show it in substance?
You bet.
No, answer.
I went to a
Not
prep
just-
school.
No, answer.
I am answering you.
Come on.
I went
Where
to a
can you
prep
find it
school
factually, though?
here in Connecticut, and I had a philosophy professor who went to a seance. And at the seance, the medium told him things about his past that it took him 2 weeks to remember had even occurred. This philosophy professor came
And
to our
psychologists
class.
have done that too with sexual abuse cases where they convince their clients of a history that never happened. So how do you know that's not the case? How can you prove that it's true?
You got to use your brain to figure out whether
Okay,
I'm
so
being
then
irrational
that means
or
that,
rational.
that's on the premise that you're using your brain.
Yeah, that is on a premise.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Why are you wasting your time listening to a guy who's just gibbering?
You're in our way.
You're missing my problem.
I'm
I'll
sorry,
answer that
I didn't
question.
realize that your
No.
ankle had a chain tied to the brick underneath
I'll answer
there.
that question.
I was under the impression that you chose to be here freely.
He did choose to be
Let me
here.
relieve you if you're being forced to be here.
Oh, I'm not. I'm enjoying
All
your
right.
company.
But listen, my
Thank you.
problem here is you're here talking loudly, first of all. You're not having a small conversation with the group that brought you here in a small room, which most groups have. You're obnoxiously on the center of campus,
Yeah.
misguiding people about your belief in
Baloney.
Jesus.
And I'm exercising my right of free speech. And if I tried to stand up in Iran or Iraq or Afghanistan and do what I'm doing now, I'd be in prison before I knew what
And
my
it's a great
name
thing I'm an
was.
American citizen and born
Okay.
on this soil.
Good.
Great thing, isn't it?
All right.
Now, what do you take that as right there? As blindly naming Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan?
Blindly?
because you
I'm
see a
not
scarf
blindly
on
at
my
all.
head? That's ignorant. That's an ignorant move on your part. Because I have no correlation with Iran or Iraq or Afghanistan.
I didn't say you did.
Then why bring it up?
I'll tell you
Just
why.
random countries?
Because you
can't do
two
this
were
in South
challenging
Korea
black.
or
No.
Japan.
So every
I'm
time I
not
try and answer you, you
irrational.
cut me off.
I'm not irrational.
Yes, you are. You don't really want to reason and think.
Because
you
you're
just
not
want to
a person
emote.
to reason. I'm not emotional.
Oh, no?
I'm not
Oh,
emotional.
give me a break. You were challenging free speech. He said I was in his way.
No, I wasn't challenging. I was using my own free speech to question yours.
Oh, you can do that
is
all
part
day
of
long.
free
I respect
speech.
that.
So then,
That's not-
And my
okay.
point is, free speech
I was making
is a
an
right
argument,
that we
though.
have in the United States of America.
Correct. And
That
in the
I
United
celebrate.
States, you look crazy right now.
Pardon?
Hold on
You
one
look
second.
crazy in the United States, and if you went to Iran or Iraq, you look crazy there as well. You
So hold on.
Well, then
What's
why
your
are you
purpose
wasting
here?
your time
What's
talking to
your
a crazy
purpose
man?
Because you are just, it's just entertaining.
Entertaining.
What's your purpose
Well,
here? Why
you
are
know
you
they had
here?
better entertainment on this campus than to talk to a
Have
crazy
you been
man?
to stores? Have you been to stores?
You guys are hurting people.
Why are you here? What did you come
I am
for?
here to introduce people to the closest friend I have, Jesus Christ.
You are condemning, what, 2/3 of the rest of the world to hell. And there are some good people in the 2/3 of the rest, some good Buddhists, some good Jews, some people that believe in Islam that are very good people that are deserving of whatever reward they should get. And the problem with every religion has a way of excluding people that do not believe in exactly what they believe. It's a different version of the same thing.
Okay.
Except everyone has their own little password to get in. And once you say that only because the only way to heaven is through Jesus, you have now excluded and therefore dehumanized everybody else that does not accept Jesus. And you know what? That's wrong. Period.
Okay. According to you, who goes to heaven?
According to the Bible, the only way to heaven is through me, is through Jesus Christ. That's from the Bible.
Okay, so you have a problem with that. You've articulated that very clearly.
Yes, I do.
So, according to you, who goes to heaven?
Okay, we're not debating whether I even think heaven exists or not. That's not the point.
Do you think heaven exists?
I asked you a question to start this off, so don't flip it back on me.
Oh, I'll answer any question you ask.
Answer my question.
I'll answer it. Sure.
All right.
I'll answer any question. Truth, all truth, smacks of exclusivity. The statement 2 + 2 = 4 is incredibly exclusive.
If I don't believe in Jesus, am I going to heaven?
Are you allowing me to answer your question or not?
Yes or no? It's yes or no, not 2 + 2.
I'm sorry, I don't
Yes or
give
no.
yes/no answers.
All right. You know why?
If you can reduce,
Because you're full of it.
and that's not judgmental, and that's being kind. That's being kind and not judgmental. What you just did to me.
What I'm telling you is that you are judging everybody else that does not agree with you, and that
You
is
have not
wrong.
even listened to my answer. You don't know what I'm doing.
You are preaching. You are not preaching something new here, sir. You're preaching something that's been preached and has been the reason why people have been murdered in catastrophic numbers from the history of mankind. You are this one little step away from saying that because you don't agree with me and because you're not going to heaven, your life is somehow worth less because you've made a choice that excludes you from heaven anyway.
And have you listened to my answer?
That's how people justify.
You said you
car
answered a
bombing.
question. You asked a question. You wanted me to answer it. Have you listened to my answer?
Your answer is yes or no, and now you're gonna skirt around the issue and not answer it. And you know what? I have to go somewhere. I don't have time to just listen to your answer right now. I'd like to know what your answer is.
Yes or no?
The version of what you're doing right now is the same thing you see in every other religion. And that's why right now people will strap bombs to their back, walk into a market, and kill everybody. Why? Because they're infidels. They're not going to heaven anyway, right? So what's the use? That you might as well kill them now, right? That's the same thing that happens in the Middle East right now. It's the same mentality that you're preaching right now to everybody else right here. It's one little step away. That's all. That's all it is.
All right, let me kind of tell you why I disagree with that.
Yes.
All right. I can promise you that if you put your faith in Jesus Christ, in light of the fact that as he was bleeding and dying on a cross, he prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do."
Yes.
If you claim to put your faith in that Jesus Christ, there is absolutely no way that you can persecute, kill any human being in the name of your religion. Because if you genuinely follow Christ, you are genuinely following the one who in his dying moment, as he's being excruciatingly executed by crucifixion, he prays, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do."
We can say is design like from a blank slate is what we make as humans, what we make. We say that is design, and we see that and say that actually that is a designer. Okay? Things in nature, we can't just like say that that's design. All right? We recognize that it's complex, but we've never observed anybody design the grass or design the rain. So we can't just like extrapolate our idea of design to everything else in the world. Like, what I'm basically saying is that the things in nature that are complex could just as easily come about without a designer than with a designer. Either way, we haven't observed it and we can't prove it, and the evidence doesn't really point one way or another.
Okay. I have a younger brother who transplants livers and kidneys. I can promise you, he has studied the order of the human body to such an extent that people trust him to transplant their liver or their kidney. There is incredible order and design to the human body. Is it more reasonable to believe that that order and design comes about by chance, or is it more reasonable to believe that that order and design comes about as a result of an intelligent mind?
All right, I got a claim. I have a claim that God is not eternal, that God is a living being, that he will die, that he was born. Okay? Because everything in this universe had a beginning, was born, was created, and then eventually dies and is destroyed. Everything on this entire planet, and even what we observe in the universe, follows the same laws. Therefore, our designer, will say that there is a designer, our designer follows the same laws. He had a beginning, and he will have an end. That's exactly what you're telling us with the creation and design. That's the same form of argument.
I'm not saying that.
It is. You're saying that everything has a design, everything has a creator.
No, I didn't say that. I said everything that has a beginning has a cause. Everything that has a beginning has a cause. Obviously, if the evidence was that the universe is eternal, then I could not use the Big Bang as a piece of evidence that God exists.
That's not necessarily true.
The Big Bang shows us that the universe is not eternal,
But there
which
is
means the universe has to have a cause.
There is a theory of it.
But it's possible for there to be an uncaused cause. And that this uncaused cause is God.
Why is it God?
That's what he just said. He was like, uncaused cause.
I'm just calling the uncaused cause God. I don't care. You don't have to call it God.
Can it be
Thank you so much.
But why does it have to be an intelligent?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't. So
It
you're
doesn't
saying,
have to be anything. The question is, what is? Thank you. What does the evidence point to?
all right. So can we agree that just as plausible as a great designer, an eternal designer, an unconscious phenomenon that we don't understand could have caused the beginning of the universe and everything that we know?
If that was the only piece of evidence that I have for God, yes. But obviously, I'm saying that my observation is life comes from life. It doesn't come from non-life. And I see life around me. Therefore, there's this uncaused cause got to be a living being. In the Quran, we read, Jesus is a good prophet. He is not God. The problem is the historical Jesus claimed to be God.
That to be an internal contradiction is on one page it says something, on a different page it says something else. Like the gentleman that left mentioned about the creation.
You're
how
right.
Creation came
The
about.
Quran
That's
does not
an internal
contradict itself. I agree.
reference. So then
But
we'll
it
go to point number two.
contradicts
Point number
the
two.
historical evidence that Jesus claimed to be God.
Claimed. From what, John and Joseph and Mike and whoever.
That's right, man. And that's the only thing. That's the only way I can know anything historically. Historical knowledge is based on the trustworthiness of eyewitness testimony.
So then why take what John and those people said 500 years before what Muhammad came with?
That's exactly why I trust John, because he lived with Jesus. Muhammad was the dude who never met Jesus.
But doesn't it
John
come-
met Jesus,
but
listened to
does-
Jesus.
But doesn't it come with time that things like that become more inaccurate? Jesus' book isn't here. Jesus' book is not here.
Yes, the Gospels
The
of
same
Matthew,
way.
Mark, Luke, and John
The
were
same-
written in the first century.
Okay, Moses' book,
Eyewitnesses.
the Torah.
That's what I want when it comes to historical
Moses'
knowledge.
book, the Torah, right? Did Jesus believe in the Torah? Did Jesus follow Moses?
Yes, Jesus
And-
believed the Torah was the Word of God, very
So
clearly.
then why do you accept Jesus as a successor of Moses and you don't accept Muhammad as a successor of Jesus?
Because Muhammad contradicted Jesus.
But you don't have any way to tell whether or not what Jesus came with is the exact same as what Moses came with, because the book Moses came with is not the same today as it was at the time. Can you agree with me on that?
No, that made no sense
Yes,
to me.
of
I'm
course
sorry,
it
I'm not
did.
smart enough to figure out
Of
what you
course
just
it
said
did.
there. Makes no sense to me.
Okay,
What
do
on
you,
earth did
right
you just
now,
say?
Right now, the book that Moses came with.
Yes?
Do you agree Jesus
He didn't
memorized
come with
it?
anything. He wrote something.
He didn't write anything. It was revealed to him.
Baloney. Moses
It was
wrote.
revealed to him.
No book floated out of
So
heaven to
then what
Moses.
makes him a prophet?
Moses wrote.
What makes him a prophet? The fact that he was a self-claimed prophet, he was a good writer? There's plenty of good writers. That doesn't make them prophets.
Goodness gracious, man. No way.
What
Do I
is your
accept this
definition of a
kind
prophet?
of floating out of heaven
What?
book that you do?
No one's saying it's floating out of heaven.
Well, then
told
what are
that
you
it's
saying?
revealed through angels. Do you believe
Moses
in angels?
wrote. No, an angel didn't write the Torah.
No one said
Moses
an angel
wrote it.
it.
Wrote
No
it,
one
not
said
an angel.
wrote it.
And no angel wrote the New Testament either. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Peter, James wrote the New Testament.
So what makes someone a prophet? And not a random great writer?
What makes someone a prophet is that God inspires them. And there's absolutely no way that I can show you who a prophet is. If this guy claims to be a prophet, I can't just blindly say, yes, he's a prophet, or no, he's not a prophet. I have to observe how he lives his life. I have to listen to what he believes.
And 500 people for you is good enough for that. As long as 500 people say he's a prophet, we're good. We're golden.
No, that's your argument. I'm not standing
That's
here
what you
saying
said
anybody's a
before.
prophet. Your argument is
Follow me to Scientology!
So again, we'll talk about what makes someone a prophet. Your definition of a prophet, and I'll follow with mine. You said a good writer.
No, I didn't.
But again, so we're
A
all on the
prophet
same
is
page.
someone who's inspired by God, but I can't show you that someone's inspired by God. It's impossible.
So this is something in your own heart.
I can't show you that a book is inspired by God. And don't you understand? That's why it's so
So
hard
then
for you
how-
and me to have
Oh,
an
it is.
intelligent conversation.
Okay.
Because you just lapsed into,
Can I answer your-
this
can
is
I
inspired
answer
by
your-
God,
can I
this is
answer your
from
thing?
God, this is from an angel.
Well,
Well,
listen.
fine, but there's no way you can show that.
Okay, you're here right now. The purpose of you coming here is to quote unquote guide misguided people. I talked to the people who brought you, and they said your point is not to convert people to Christianity. Your point is to get atheists and agnostics to believe in Jesus.
No,
Yeah.
and you, I pray
Well,
you'll
then-
come to believe in
then-
Jesus,
I
man.
believe in Jesus. I don't
You
believe
reject
in
him
Jesus
as
how
God.
You do.
You don't accept his death
I
on the
believe
cross
in
for your
Jesus.
sin.
Okay, but we'll stop. We'll go here. You're here to take people to believe in Jesus. But you just said right now that you can't explain to someone that a book is inspired by God or someone else is inspired by God. So why are you here?
There is absolutely no way that any human being can prove that any book has been inspired by God.
Then why are you here to tell us to believe in the Bible?
Because I am convinced that to believe in God and to believe in Jesus does not mean you have to first believe that a book is inspired by God.
So I'm supposed
You
to take
cannot
you
blindly
as the
believe
reference
anything
between
in
me
life.
and Jesus?
And to blindly believe that the Quran or the Bible or any book has been inspired by God is such a leap of faith. I'm not asking anybody to do that.
Okay, so can we have the second part of our deal? I said I'd explain to you what a prophet is.
Sure.
A prophet is someone who comes with something extraordinary that combats everything at the time in proof of his claim. So many people came claiming they were prophets, and they did things that didn't prove their claim. The prophet came, Prophet Muhammad, first of all, we'll start off with Jesus, who we both agree with. Jesus was born without a father.
How do you know that?
Miracle number one.
How do you know that?
Revealed in the Quran, and when he spoke.
Revealed in the
No,
Quran
no.
500 years after
Listen,
the
when
fact,
he spoke-
all of a sudden, because some dude says he was born without a father, you believe it?
Okay, fine. You don't believe that Jesus was born without a father. You don't
I can
believe-
promise you, ma'am, I'm not going to believe Jesus was born without a father because some dude who lived 500 years after Christ writes it in a book.
Okay.